Welcome to Kevin Deal Photography, where I take you on my journey through photography. On today's episode, we're going to be doing an in-depth review of the Godox V480. I'm pleased to announce the release of my Capture One and Lightroom presets, Metamorphic Portraits, The Sound of Silver, and Rangefinder. These are all available for purchase at my website. Go to kevindealphotography.com or check out a link in the description below. And now, on to today's episode. Welcome to today's episode. If you're not familiar with Kevin Deal Photography, we do gear reviews, tips, techniques, and tutorials, and sometimes we dive into film. If any of that sounds appealing to you, click the subscribe button below. For all of you who are back to Kevin Deal Photography, welcome back. And for all of you where this is your first time here, at the beginning of every episode, I ask for donations to BIG, which is an organization that helps intellectually disabled adults adapt to jobs in the real world. I also want to thank all of you who donate to my Super Thanks link. With that money, I buy more gear, which I then review on this channel and hopefully help you all with your buying decisions. But to the subject of today's episode. It's clear that Godox is fully embracing the touchscreen interface. As I mentioned in my reviews of the X2 R2 triggers, the V100 Speedlight, and the IT30 Pro Mini Flash, Godox sees touchscreens as the future. And honestly, it's a smart move. The fastest growing group of photographers learning Flash today grew up on smartphones, so it makes sense to design tools that feel familiar to them. That said, their early attempts had some rough edges. The first versions of the interface included odd limitations like only allowing 1/10 stop adjustments and required long presses to switch between manual and TTL. There were also times when the screen was overly sensitive. Most of that, but not all of that, has been solved through firmware updates. Now, after nearly a year of refining that system on the V100, the hope is that the new V480 launches with those improvements already baked into the first firmware. We'll definitely explore that in today's episode. Using the V100 as my reference point, here's what immediately stands out about the V480. It's smaller, noticeably lighter, and it features a rectangular Fresnel head rather than the magnetic round head found on many of the Pro models. However, the menu system still borrows heavily from the V100, which is great. Depending on your needs as a photographer, the V480 might be the perfect speedlight for you, delivering most of what the V100 offers at about half the price. Another thing that stands out is, like all Godox flashes, this is made for multiple systems: Fuji, Sony, Nikon, etc. In today's episode, I'll walk you through how to use the V480, put it to the test on some real-world shoots, and help you figure out whether or not it's a good fit for you. But first, let's talk about the specs. The Godox V480 is a TTL 2.4 GHz 76 watt second speedlight. It has a guide number of 50 at ISO 100. It has both auto zoom and manual zoom of 24 to 105 millimeters. It has manual and TTL modes. Its flash duration is 1/600th to 1/20,000th of a second. It's global shutter compatible. It has a vertical range of -7 to 120 degrees and a horizontal range of 0 to 330 degrees. It has built-in high-speed sync. It has 5 groups and 32 channels. It has an integrated 2-watt LED modeling lamp. Its recycle time at full power is 1.7 seconds. It has a battery life of 650 flashes. Its dimensions are 6.54 by 2.8 by 1.93 inches or 166 by 71 by 49 millimeters. It comes in at a weight of 12.7 ounces or 361 grams, and it comes in at a street price of $169 US.
All right, so when you think of speedlights, of course you think of events like weddings and graduations and things like that. I want to see how far I can push this Speedlight, and I want those of you who are new to Speedlights to really imagine what you can achieve, the potential with something like this V480. Now, this is a Canon Speedlight. It's made for Canon. It communicates with the Canon protocol. The pin readout is Canon. I'm holding in my hand a Fuji X100 And the cool thing about Speedlights is they speak the 2.4 gigahertz language of the trigger. The trigger speaks the Fuji language, and then it translates that 2.4 gigahertz language to Godox, the Godox 2.4 gigahertz language. So you can absolutely use a Canon specific Speedlight with a Fuji trigger as long as they are compatible in the Godox ecosystem. And that's precisely what I'm going to do. And I have a model meeting me here in downtown Austin. I'm gonna try all these different modifiers out, all these different methods out. We'll move from the shade to the direct sunlight. Without further ado, let's get started.
So using this flash in conjunction with my X100 it produced beautiful results, but what surprised me the most was its power. You can see how dark the buildings are in these shots, and that's a testament to how powerful this flash can overpower the sun at close distances. But Godox did send me the Canon version of this Speedlight, so let's see what kind of results we can get using this V480 on my R5 Mark II. All right, so I've shown you some examples that I shot on this V480 on multiple cameras. Now let's go back to my studio and let's talk about it. All right, so I've had some opportunities to use this V480 on some projects, and I've reviewed a lot of Godox Speedlights, so I have a pretty good idea of what I've got here. I'm gonna tell you what I like and what I don't like about it, and we're gonna start with the things that I don't like. I'm not a fan of how charging is implemented on this flash. If you're watching this video, you might be confused about it too. Naturally, I plugged the included USB-C cable into the port on the side of the Speedlight only to see the firmware update icon appear. No charging. I went hunting for a proprietary charger, but there wasn't one in the box. Eventually, I noticed a small flap on the battery itself. Lifting it revealed another USB-C port. That's the charging port. So, to charge the flash, you have to remove the battery, open the flap, and plug it in. There's no way to charge it while the battery's inserted. And here's what puzzles me. The side-mounted USB-C port, perfectly placed for easy access, is only for firmware updates, something most users will do rarely. Meanwhile, the charging port, which will be used constantly, is hidden and it's inconvenient to find. Yeah, that wasn't well thought out at all, Godox. That leads me to my second gripe, the firmware update process itself. Godox makes great forward-thinking products at a great value, but their update workflow needs serious work. The official site directed me to download the Godox G3 update program. I installed it on my Mac, loaded the correct .bin file, and hit update. The progress bar loaded, it finished, I hit exit. Nothing happened. No update. After some frustration, I discovered another program, Godox IAP, which looks identical to the G3 program. Side by side, you can't really tell them apart, but the IAP actually works while the G3 doesn't. This isn't a one-off problem either. I ran into the exact same issue with the IT30 Pro and V100 updates. for whatever reason, their site directs me to the program that doesn't work, and I have to dig to find the program that does work. If Godox wants to keep building touchscreen flashes that depend on firmware updates, they need to streamline this process dramatically. Ideally, they should have a single USB-C port that handles both charging and firmware updates, with one unified, reliable update tool. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how challenging that would be to implement, but if they could pull it off, it would be a huge win for the Godox community. Or maybe do what camera companies are already doing with phone apps. Put a Wi-Fi function in your flashes and update the firmware over your smartphone. Do something better than what you currently have. Another improvement I'd like to see is the ability to toggle between the smaller light and the Fresnel head for the modeling lamp. Right now, you're limited to the smaller lamp, which is fine for event photography, but if you're using this Speedlight off camera, that tiny lamp will be blocked by your modifier. Having the option to switch between the smaller lamp and the flash head, like the competitive newer Z2 Pro offers, would make this flash an ideal studio companion for up-and-coming photographers who can't yet afford larger strobes. I got by without the modeling lamp because I know my studio space really well and I know what my camera settings need to be to achieve the shots that I need to achieve. But a beginner would rely on the modeling lamp far more, and since modifiers block the lamp, I have to list that as a con. The only other thing that I didn't like about it is when you have this Speedlight mounted to your camera, when you want to toggle between your different modes, you still have to do a long press. So if you're a photographer in a hurry, you're just going to have to sit and wait and hold your finger down for it to toggle between the different modes. Now let's talk about what I love about this flash. The size and weight are spot on. In a perfect world, I'd take the power and round head of my V100, somehow shrink it down and keep it exactly the same size and weight as the V480. I'll be honest, I hate the size and weight of professional flagship speedlights. No matter the brand, they're all top heavy, they throw off the balance of my cameras, and they put a lot of stress on the hot shoe. I've seen plenty of horror stories of hot shoes snapping on $5,000 plus cameras, and I get why they're built that way. They have to survive the rigors of all-day events like weddings. They need to take a beating and shoot hundreds of events over their lifespan. But the truth is, I don't enjoy using those big, heavy speedlights. Yes, they are a necessary evil, but the V480, that's my ideal size. It balances beautifully on all my cameras, slips into my bag without any issues, and while it doesn't have every feature the bigger V100 has, it has all the ones that really matter to me outside of the magnetic head, which is also round. Some other pros of the V480, it has TTL, it has high-speed sync, it's compatible with the global shutter, so you can use super high shutter speeds and it will sync up just fine if you have a Sony global shutter. I like the fact that it has big, bright, clear, easy to read icons. I find that the touchscreen interface is not very sluggish at all. It's pretty responsive. And I feel like Godox was more prepared with the launch of the V480 over the V100. The V480 actually has the ability to switch between 1/10 and 1/3 stop increments. You're also given the choice between the Godox 1/1 through 1/512 power display or the Pro Photo 1 through 10 stops. Having that freedom of choice is great because I personally prefer the Pro Photo method more. The V100 didn't come to market with these features installed. It had to rely on a firmware update. I'm happy to report the V480 already has this firmware pre-installed. In terms of power output, it's not too far off from its much larger, heavier, and more expensive V100 sibling. You're talking 76 watt seconds versus 100 watt seconds. That's just a slight bump of your ISO. It's like going from ISO 100 to ISO 160. You're never gonna notice that in post-production. Because the V480's power output is so close to that of the V100, I only reach for the V100 when I specifically need the round head and its magnetic accessories. In nearly every other situation, I prefer the V480 for its significantly smaller size and lighter weight. For example, here I am shooting directly into the sun at ISO 125 on my X100 VI. Here's the scene without a flash, and here's the scene with the V480. Even in the brightest part of the day, I was able to get it bright enough with the assistance of a $15 hard reflector. A hard reflector is something I would also be using in this exact same scenario with my V100. That tells me that it can handle just about anything I need it to do. And even if I needed more power or faster recycle times, that's exactly why high-powered strobes exist. Another advantage of the V480 over the V100 is the placement of its modeling lamp. On the V480, the lamp faces forward, independent of the flash head. I prefer this setup because when I bounce the flash off the wall or the ceiling, the modeling lamp still illuminates my subject, making it easier to focus and compose. On the more expensive V100, the modeling lamp points in the same direction as the bounce, which means it often isn't aimed at the subject. For my shooting style, keeping the modeling lamp on the subject while adjusting the bounce is far more practical. I was impressed with the V480's battery performance. During the shoot at the boxing gym, I took over 400 shots, often at higher power settings to overpower the room's natural ambient light and create a moodier, darker look. Even after all of that, the battery status showed full bars. For wedding or event photographers, that means the battery should easily last through an entire reception without needing a recharge. So, what are my final thoughts on this guy? Well, if you're somebody who doesn't find themselves needing the round head and the magnetic accessories, and you value size and weight being smaller, I would say check out this V480 because it does check most of the same boxes that the V100 has. It's just a little less powerful, but it's about half the price. So it's absolutely, in my opinion, a better value than the V100. Yes, the V100 has the bells and whistles on it. It does have the magnetic component to it. And for some of you, that may tip you up to the twice as expensive V100. But using both of these flashes, I much enjoy using the V480 more because it's just a better experience on all of my cameras. So that's kind of my final verdict on it, is that they're both great, but the V480 to me is definitely a better experience than using the V100. So I'll leave links in the description below where you can pick this guy up, and I'll leave links for all the different camera versions of this because obviously this is for Canon, but there's a Sony version, there's a Nikon version. I'll hook you all up in the description below. So that does it for today's episode. Do you own this V480? What do you think? Tell me about it in the comments below. Are you going to go in a different direction? Tell me about that in the comments below. And if you're a fan of this channel, I humbly ask you to click the subscribe button below. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.